English with Famous Minds podcast. Listen, learn, imagine.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vicky, and welcome back to English with Famous Minds podcast. Take a moment, relax, and just listen. Today's guest is not just a queen. She ruled Egypt during one of the most dangerous periods in history, faced the growing power of Rome, and made decisions that still fascinate people today. She was not only remembered, she was studied. Today, we are talking to Cleopatra. Cleopatra, welcome.
Thank you, Vicky. It is a pleasure to be here.
Let's start with something direct. Many people remember you for beauty and romance. But I want to ask you something more important. Were you, first of all, a political leader?
Yes, absolutely. Beauty can attract attention, but it cannot protect a kingdom. When I became queen, Egypt was already in a fragile situation. There were economic problems, internal divisions, and external pressure from Rome. From the beginning, I understood something clearly. If I did not act with intelligence, I would lose everything.
So your position was never truly safe.
No, never. Power is rarely stable. Many people imagine a throne as something secure. In reality, it is something that must be defended, constantly.
And at one point, you lost it.
Yes, there was conflict within my own family. I was forced out of Egypt. I had no army, limited resources, and very little support. It was a moment where many would accept defeat.
But you didn't.
No, I didn't. Because losing power is not the same as losing the game. It simply means the strategy must change.
So what did you do?
I observed, I waited, and I studied the situation carefully. Rome was not unified. There was internal struggle, competition for control. And in that moment, I saw an opportunity.
Julius Caesar.
Yes, he was powerful, but also needed support. I understood that if I could present myself not as a defeated queen, but as a valuable ally, I could return.
That must have required courage.
It required clarity. Fear was present, of course. But when the choice is between action and disappearance, the decision becomes simple.
And you returned to power.
Yes, not through force, but through positioning, intelligence, and timing. That moment defined everything that followed.
Let's talk about how you ruled. What made your leadership different?
I was present. Many rulers remain distant from their people. They rely on distance to maintain control. I chose a different path. I spoke the language of Egypt. I understood the culture. I wanted people to see me, not as a foreign ruler, but as part of their world.
That must have created a strong connection.
Yes, because power is not only about authority, it is about perception. If people believe in you, your position becomes stronger, without force.
So, influence was more important than control.
Exactly. Control is temporary. Influence lasts longer.
Let me ask you something more practical. When you had to convince someone, not with force, but with words, how did you do it?
Persuasion is not about speaking more. It is about understanding first. Before I spoke, I observed. I listened carefully. I tried to understand what the other person wanted, what they feared, and what they needed to hear.
So you changed your message, depending on the person?
Of course, speaking the same way to everyone is a mistake. Each person requires a different approach. Sometimes, you must be strong. Sometimes, calm. Sometimes, silent.
Silent?
Yes, silence can create pressure. It makes the other person reveal more, and information is always valuable.
Let's talk about Rome again. After Caesar, everything changed.
Yes, his death created instability. And again, I had to adapt. That was a constant in my life. Nothing remained stable for long.
And that's when Mark Antony becomes part of your story.
Yes. And once again, people misunderstand. They focus on emotion, but they forget the context. Antony controlled military power. An alliance with him meant protection for Egypt.
So again, it was strategy.
Yes. But this time, there was also a human element, which made everything more complex.
Did that make leadership harder?
Yes, because emotions can create uncertainty. And uncertainty is dangerous when decisions affect a nation.
I want to understand how you think. How do you make decisions in uncertain situations?
There is no perfect moment, no complete information, no guaranteed outcome. A leader must decide. Anyway,
Based on what?
on clarity. You must know what you want. You must understand what you are willing to risk. And you must be honest about what you cannot accept. Without that clarity, every decision becomes confusion.
Did you ever regret a decision?
Yes, every leader does. But regret has no value if it stops you. The only useful thing is adaptation.
So you don't stay in the past.
No. If you stay in the past, you lose the present. And for me, losing the present meant losing everything.
Let's talk about fear. Were you afraid?
Of course, fear is natural, but it must not lead.
How do you control it?
Through action. When you act, fear becomes smaller. When you wait, fear grows.
That's very powerful.
Fear is part of leadership, but it must remain in the background.
What about trust? Who did you trust?
Very few people. Trust is necessary, but dangerous. You must trust carefully and always remain aware that situations can change.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. Power is not comfortable. It requires constant attention, constant awareness.
Let's talk about your legacy. People still talk about you today, but often in a very simple way.
Yes, they remember the story, but not the complexity. They remember relationships, but not decisions. They remember the image, but not the strategy.
What would you like people to understand?
That I ruled, that I protected my kingdom for as long as possible, that I adapted in a world where many failed, and that I did not accept defeat easily,
That completely changes the perspective.
because reality is always more complex than the story.
If you look at today's world, what do you recognize?
I recognize ambition, power, competition. These things do not change. But I also see something different. More voices, more opportunities, more people with the ability to rise.
Do you think you would succeed today?
If the rules change, I learn the new rules. That has always been my strength.
Last question. If you could change one thing, what would it be?
Perhaps I would prepare differently for the final moment. Not emotionally, but strategically. Because in the end, every leader faces something they cannot control. And preparation changes everything.
That's a powerful answer. Cleopatra, thank you.
Thank you, Vicky.
And thank you to everyone listening. Remember, learning English is not about perfection. It is about understanding and being understood. Take your time, listen again, and see you in the next episode.
English with Famous Minds podcast. Listen, learn, imagine.